I'm genuinely concerned for us as a society that something as simple as a water cup is making people cheat, steal, and injure each other. I just find it so painfully ironic because isn't going out to buy the hottest, coolest new water cup kind of the antithesis of why reusable water bottles were created in the first place? You're not really saving the planet when you go out and buy a new cup every couple years while your old ones end up in a thrift store or the landfill. But again, it's not about sustainability, it's about conforming to a social media created trend. We think Stanleys are cool because a few bloggers told us they were cool and then influencers ran with it. We as social media users created this craze. We gave value to these cups. Seemingly overnight, nobody knew what a Stanley Cup was, and now all of a sudden you're not cool if you don't own one. Think about that. That is the power of social media influencing. Hello, and welcome back to the second episode of this new series on my channel, Influencer Insanity, where we talk about all things social media and influencer culture. My name's Hannah, and I post a lot of anti-scam, anti-MLM, and influencer-related commentary content every single week. So if any of those topics interest you, I would love it if you would consider subscribing and sticking around. Today we are covering the Stanley Cup craze, and no, not the hockey trophy. The $45 water cup popularized by social media influencers. So I just launched this series on my channel a couple weeks ago. The first video was all about restock influencers and kind of the bizarre trend of curating the spaces in your home specifically for social media. And that video went unexpectedly wild. That is the highest performing video on my channel that I've ever posted. I think the algorithm gods were really working in my favor on that one. It's been so cool to see. There's been so much positive feedback on it, and I'm really grateful for that. And the reason I'm telling you all of this is that I went back and forth for the longest time trying to figure out what I wanted that first video to be about. And for a while, I settled on the idea of making a video about the Stanley Cup trend because it's really topical right now, but I decided against it because I started seeing other creators on YouTube making videos about this topic as well, and I kind of felt like at that point I was late to the game. But to my surprise, some of the first comments that came rolling in on the restock influencers video was, "You should make a video about the Stanley Cups. When is the Stanley video coming?" Today. The answer is that it's coming today. Ask and you shall receive. And I know that I'm a little bit late. I'm kicking myself that I didn't release this video a couple of weeks ago, but better late than never, I guess. I've noticed some very odd behaviors on social media surrounding this cup, and I've seen some concerning headlines in the news. People are losing their ever-loving minds over this cup. They are completely obsessed with it. They're going ballistic. They're acting in ridiculous ways. And I'm just completely perplexed by the things that I continue to see online about what is going on with the Stanley Cup. So I'm excited to get into all of those thoughts and opinions and show you lots of examples of the things I'm seeing today, and I can't wait to hear what you think as well. But before we get into the Stanley craze, I'm excited to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Good Chop. Good Chop offers you fully customizable boxes of high quality meat and seafood delivered to your door on your schedule. There's over 60 high quality cuts to choose from, including 100% grass-fed ribeyes, USDA prime filet mignon, wild-caught salmon, wild-caught shrimp, free-range and organic chicken breasts, thick-cut bacon, just to name a few. And Good Chop sources its meat and seafoods exclusively from American farms and fisheries. So by choosing Good Chop, you're supporting local family farms and independent ranchers right here in the US. And there are no antibiotics or added hormones ever. Recently, it's been a goal of mine to buy more in bulk and to stock things like my pantry and freezer to make those weeknight meals a lot easier on myself. And Good Chop has been a great help with that goal. Everything is flash frozen at peak freshness. It arrives to me frozen, and so I just take it from the box, put it in the freezer, and then I'll thaw out the different cuts of meat as needed. I was so excited. Our Good Chop box came the day before my husband's birthday, so I thawed out the bacon, and I made his all-time favorite breakfast burritos. I make these every year on his birthday, but this year he kept commenting on the bacon specifically and saying how much flavor it added. Later in the week, we cooked up our grass-fed ribeyes. My favorite way to do this, salt, pepper, garlic powder, rosemary, and then cook it sous vide style, which is revolutionary. If you have not tried it, please look into it. It cooks so evenly, so tenderly, and then my husband sears it off in a cast iron pan to give it that crust. It's truly one of our favorite dinners. We've loved all of the cuts of Good Chop meat that we've tried so far. Also, you just can't beat the convenience of the fact that it's delivered right to you and you can stock your freezer full of high-quality meats for whenever you need them. Good Chop is confident you'll love it. I'm confident you'll love it, but they also offer a 100% money-back guarantee, so you can feel confident trying Good Chop too. And they're offering a great deal for my viewers. You can head to goodchop.com/YouTube and use my code HannahAlonzo120, or click the link in the description box below, and this is going to give you $120 off across your first 4 boxes. Again, that's goodchop.com/YouTube to get $120 off across your first 4 boxes using my code HannahAlonzo120. Thanks again, Good Chop, for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get into into it. So here we go. We have to talk about what the heck is going on with these Stanley Cups and the cult-like following it has accumulated. People are going wild. They are buying them out in mass quantities. They are trampling over each other in stores to get their hands on them. People are stealing them. Target employees are getting fired for buying them against company policy. People are reselling them for like double, triple the cost. It is pure chaos. And recently it's been swirling that these cups contain lead. So now people are freaking out in a bad way. So we're definitely going to talk about all of that too. The first thing we need to address is what on God's green earth is a Stanley Cup, in case you've been fortunate enough not to have been made aware of this sooner. The Stanley Cup we're talking about is a 40-ounce tumbler-style insulated water cup with a straw lid and a handle, and it comes in a multitude of colors and designs. My ultimate disclaimer at the beginning of this video is if you own a Stanley Cup and you love it, that is fantastic. It's a really cute cup. If it brings you joy and it encourages you to drink more water, that's incredible. All good things. This video is not to talk down on people who own Stanleys, and it is not to discourage people from buying them or using them. In fact, I don't personally own one, but my sister-in-law wanted one for Christmas. I bought one for her. I myself have given my own hard-earned money to the Stanley cult, okay? It's just a cup. It's not that deep. But it's kind of gotten deep recently. Thanks to its social media popularity and how heavily this thing is being pushed on us by influencers, now it's not just a cup anymore. It's a status symbol. It's an accessory. It's a collectible. It's something that people are screaming over when they open it on Christmas morning. My sister-in-law did not do that, by the way. It's something that children are getting bullied in school for not owning. It's something that grown adults are sprinting towards and shoving each other over for when it comes in stock at Target. And that is a phenomenon we're here to talk about today, and that's what I'm going to show you examples of. I can just see the comments now of all the people defending their choice to buy a Stanley and feeling the need to justify it publicly to me and to themselves and to others, why they bought one and how it's such a great cup and how they love it. And you know what? That's cool. If you're a proud Stanley owner, I love that for you. I'm not really directing the commentary in this video towards the casual Stanley owners, I guess we can call them. It's more so to talk about the phenomenon and the craze as a whole and some of the more shocking things I've seen on social media regarding people collecting these by the dozen and those who are lying and stealing and injuring others to get their hands on them and making it their whole personality to own these cups. Believe me, I understand what it's like to own a water bottle you love and to take it everywhere and to enjoy being hydrated. I've been doing that for years with my Yeti. I've had this thing since 2021. It has served me well. It's still in perfect condition. It keeps things cold for like 24 hours or more. It's got a handle. It's got a straw. What more could you need? There's 3 Yeti water bottles in my household. One for me, one for my husband, and a third one that we swap out when one of us wants to put ours in the dishwasher. And they still work great, just as well as the day we bought them 3 years ago, and I don't really feel a need to go buy any other ones. So I really think it's worth a discussion on how the Stanley craze came to be and what that says about our social media consumption and how effective influencers are at their job, kind of to an alarming level. Why are Yetis and Hydro Flasks and Swell water bottles out, and why are Stanleys in? The history of the Stanley brand dates back over 100 years when the company was founded in 1913. And for most of its history, their products have been marketed towards men, particularly outdoorsmen and workmen. Think blue-collar workers, hikers, campers, people who have a need for a really large, well-insulated bottle to keep their liquids cold for a long time. Stanley was the brand that invented the first vacuum-sealed bottle, and this satisfied a huge need among these types of jobs and activities. And they're not super cute. They're very basic colors, basic designs, kind of clunky, but they do the trick. This has been their steady, reliable product for over 100 years. That is until 2016 when Stanley released their Quencher-style water cup. That's the Stanley Cup that's going wild today. That's what you picture now. But for 3 whole years after they released the Quencher, it actually wasn't super popular because it overall just wasn't that remarkable. It was just another cup. There's a million others like it on the market. Nearly all of those options are cheaper than the Stanley, so they just weren't a hot ticket item. It wasn't their best seller like the thermos was, so they weren't really prioritizing it. However, things started to shift when the 3 founders of the blog The Buy Guide tried the Quencher cup, and they fell in love with it, and they started recommending it on their blog, which increased the demand for the Quencher style Stanley. Now all of a sudden, the supply did not meet the demand for the cup, so they're becoming harder to find, which then kind of made them more elusive and more desirable. I'll link an article below that outlines exactly how everything went down, but without getting lost in the details, basically, this blog created the demand for Stanley's, and they encouraged the company to branch out and push their quencher more because they were missing a huge opportunity by marketing only to outdoorsy men who needed a niche thermos for a very specific occasion, and they have this massive untapped market of women who need an everyday water cup. So what does the company do? They create more trendy colors and designs, they invest in social media marketing, they let the influencers do their job, and boom, they have a recipe for a viral product. The company was sitting comfortably around $70 million in sales annually until the Quencher Cup took off thanks to social media, where now in 2023 they made $750 million in sales. That is remarkable growth. This company is thriving right now. So enough of the history lesson. Let's get into some social media examples of the dystopian universe we're living in right now where people are losing their minds over a cup. We have got to start with the Valentine's Day launch at Target. This is ridiculous. You've probably already heard about it because it's been in the news of how ludicrous this behavior is. Stanley released 2 limited edition colors for Valentine's Day, one red cup and one pink cup. And what makes these extra special apparently is that they've got this little heart design where the trademark symbol is. They're cute, they're in Valentine's Day colors, it's in Valentine's Day theme with the heart, they're limited edition, and they were released at Target stores. Seeing the footage of this, you would think it was frickin' Black Friday with the way that people were camped outside of Target stores before they opened, like starting in the middle of the night before, and how they full-blown sprinted towards these Stanley displays, sometimes knocking each other over in the process. Except unlike Black Friday, people aren't sprinting towards these things because they're on some massive doorbuster deal. No, they're still $45, but it's the fact that they're limited edition that makes them so desirable. This kind of situation stresses me out so much. The anxiety that I would feel sitting outside of a Target store for hours and hours and then racing people to the back of the store to get a cup is unfathomable. I can't picture myself doing that. Maybe I'm just not that competitive spirit person, but I can understand that if it's been hyped up enough and if you really want it that bad and you get the sense of exclusivity, that I guess is enough to fuel some people to do this kind of thing. I personally would just never put myself in this kind of situation, so to watch footage of it is completely fascinating to me. There was also another limited edition cup that released recently. It was a Starbucks and Stanley collab. It's a pretty pink color. It says Stanley plus Starbucks down the side, and there is a viral video of a man jumping over the Starbucks counter, leaping over other customers to steal an entire box of these cups and run out the door with them. Luckily, he wasn't successful because a bunch of other customers tackled him to the ground. And somebody just happened to be live streaming this on TikTok as it was happening. I believe that video is now banned on TikTok, so the videos that I find of it are probably not very good quality here because I'm finding them from some news article or something. Absolutely wild. There is another news story about Target employees that got fired because they went against company policy and they took some of these cups and set them aside for themselves before customers had access to buy them. If you've ever worked retail, you know that there's policies surrounding setting things aside from yourself or hiding items in the store before you allow the customers to take their pick. I believe in this instance, they had to wait 15 minutes for customers to buy out all the products they wanted before the employees could purchase their own, and there were some employees that did not abide by that policy, so they lost their jobs. They got fired because they wanted a cup. Was it worth it? To some people, apparently a Stanley Cup is worth their employment. And in other news, there was a woman in California who was arrested for stealing 65 Stanley Cups worth $2,500, presumably so that she could sell them for a profit. These cups are making people act in insane ways. If you just search Stanley in the news, you'll see that people are going to extreme lengths to get their hands on these cups. I'm genuinely concerned for us as a society that something as simple as a water cup is making people cheat, steal, and injure each other. It's senseless. What is going on? Anyway, back to the Target Valentine's Day debacle. Many Target locations put up signs saying that there was a limit of 2 per customer, and sure enough, in these videos you can see most people grabbing a red one and a pink one, which makes me question, why would you need both? And I have a few different theories. Theory number 1 is pretty harmless. Maybe they just like both colors, maybe they're having a hard time choosing, or maybe they're just giving into all of this hype and they are getting a thrill out of buying the maximum allowance of something. I'm sure there's plenty of people who bought both colors because they wanted to and they liked them, and that's cool. But theory number 2 is that many of these people are resellers, meaning they go out and they buy as many units of a limited edition item as they can, and then they turn around and they sell it online for a truly asinine markup so that they can make a profit. People are trying to sell these things for at least double the price, usually over $100 a cup on places like eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari, because they're sold out in stores and online, and there are people who want these cups so desperately that they would be willing to pay these outlandish prices. And the resellers can get away with it because they're simply working within a supply and demand market. If I have something you want and you can't find it anywhere else, then I'll sell it to you for the right price. So that's theory number 2, that the people who are acting insane at Target and sprinting towards these things and grabbing 2 of them are resellers looking to make a profit on these sales. And finally, theory number 3 is that people now see these cups as collector's items, so rather than picking the color they like the most, they now have to have both. They see value in having both of these elusive colors because it's something they can add to their collection. Which brings us here. We have to touch on the collector's aspect of these cups because this is a huge thing I'm seeing. It's one thing if you think it's a cute cup and you saw it on social media and you bought one for yourself and you love it and you use it all the time. I don't see an issue with that whatsoever. The thing I cannot wrap my mind around is people who are building these gigantic collections of every color and design. Stanley is partnering with some pretty big influencers to have them hype up all the new colors and designs as they're coming out, and these influencers are doing their job of sharing them and promoting them and making them seem like it's the hottest, coolest new thing that you have to have. Jaclyn Hill is the biggest influencer I've seen doing this. She posts about these cups all the time and she always puts hashtag Stanley partner, which leads me to believe that Stanley is compensating her in some way for her promotion of these cups. And people are out here on social media showing off their astronomical collections, like sometimes 20 to 30 cups in their cabinet or displayed on their wall. I just can't bring myself to understand it or to justify it. In this video alone, I counted 39 Stanley cups displayed on this person's wall. At $45 a piece, that's over $1,700 spent on Stanley cups, not including all the Starbucks tumblers she has also. Because a hot minute ago, Starbucks tumblers were all the rage, and now they're being replaced by Stanleys. And in this video, the woman behind the camera is talking about her collection, and she's making a point to say, I'm running out of room, I'm gonna have to sell off some of my Starbucks cups to make room for more Stanleys, which really speaks to the fact that this is just a hot trend that she is partaking in for the time being. I know that people like to have collections of things that bring them joy, and they might do that despite the fact that it doesn't make much sense to other people. For some, that might be baseball cards or coins or dolls or Beanie Babies from the 90s, and I completely understand that. In a sense, it's like, who cares? If this makes her happy, then let her do it. It's not hurting anybody. It's her own money. She can spend it however she wants. But when you start showing off these collections on social media like is being done with these Stanleys, it starts to almost feel like a status symbol in some way. Like, these things are so trendy and desired right now that showing off that you got your hands on 39 different colors of them almost feels like you're gloating, or like you want people to be envious of what you have, or you want to make a point that you have enough disposable income to be spending on this kind of thing. It's just kind of strange. Many people have collections of all kinds of things, but it's really unique to this Stanley sensation that people are now filming their collections and putting them out there as content, either for the shock value of it, or maybe they're influencers and they have affiliate links, and if they're showcasing all these popular colors, maybe they're able to make a commission on those when their followers buy them. I just want to be the voice of reason and de-influence you that you do not need a Stanley cup to go with every outfit. You don't need one for every day of the week. You don't have to buy one of every new color that launches. You don't even need one single Stanley cup at all. It's okay if you don't own one. It doesn't decrease your worth if you drink water out of a different kind of bottle or cup, okay? The Stanley Cup has totally taken on a life of its own where it is becoming a status symbol. It's a sign of being trendy and cool. It's even a sign of being wealthy. Remember, these are $45 cups, you guys. Some of these influencers' collections are hundreds or thousands of dollars for cups. What can one person possibly do with 5, 10, 20, 30 of these things? You're likely only drinking out of one cup at a time, so what happens to the rest of them? They sit and they collect dust and they take up valuable space in your home. And on that note, let's address this. We're talking about a reusable water cup, something that's supposed to be sustainable and reduce the use of disposable water bottles. But is it really sustainable if you have 20 of the same dang cup in your cabinet? I feel like these collections are extremely ironic because they completely defeat the purpose of a reusable water cup. And that's when it becomes crystal clear to me that this phenomenon is not about sustainability or trying to drink more water or to do better for the planet or for your health. No, it's about looking cool. Let's call it like it is. People go crazy crazy for these cups because they want to feel included in the hot new trend. Because it's now somehow embarrassing if you're carrying around a Yeti or, God forbid, a Hydro Flask. Like, don't you know that we've moved on? Don't you know that those are out of style now? Get with the times. I just find it so painfully ironic because isn't going out to buy the hottest, coolest new water cup kind of the antithesis of why reusable water bottles were created in the first place? You're not really saving the planet when you go out and buy a new cup every couple years while your old ones end up in a thrift store or the landfill. But again, it's not about sustainability. It's about conforming to a social media created trend. We think Stanleys are cool because a few bloggers told us they were cool and then influencers ran with it. I think that in itself is what's so fascinating about this whole thing. We as social media users created this craze. We gave value to these cups. These Stanley cups were not selling well a few years ago until a few bloggers started promoting them. Seemingly overnight, nobody knew what a Stanley cup was, and now all of a sudden you're not cool if you don't own one. Think about that. That is the power of social media influencing. You can't see an influencer on social media these days without a Stanley cup in the shot, it seems. They are everywhere, and that subliminal messaging of seeing every single influencer holding a Stanley makes us feel as if we need it too. Maybe not the first time we see it, maybe not the 10th or even the 50th, but at some point you've been exposed to it enough in your scroll and you're seeing it over and over and over again. Even if you didn't think you wanted it to begin with, the desire for one has the chance to build and build and build the more you're exposed to it. And here's the part in the video that I'm probably the most passionate about, where we talk about the impact this phenomenon is having as it trickles down to our children. I'm going to show you a few clips of kids getting Stanley Cups for Christmas this year, and even though I'm going to be blurring their faces heavily to protect their privacy, pay attention to their reactions.
It's a Stanley! It's the cutest color! Oh my gosh, I love it! I love this so much! What is this? Yes! Is this what they get? Oh my god! Chill! It's a Stanley! A mini Stanley! No freaking way! It's a Stanley! Oh my freaking god! Is it for me?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Oh no, what'd you get?
No way! A rock collection!
What is it?
Oh my god! A lot of bottles. It's a Stanley! Oh my god! I'm so happy!
Dude, it's a cup.
It's a cup, the brother says.
This is so nice! It's $45! I want this!
It's a cup, dude.
It's a cup, dude.
You don't know how much this means to me! This is amazing! Thank you!
These kids are losing their composure over these cups. They are damaging their vocal cords with how high they're screaming about them. And it actually is really cute to see them getting so excited and so genuinely happy for these cups. That part of it is heartwarming. You can tell that it really means a lot to them. And I made this short compilation, but if you do go and watch the full length clips, in a lot of them, you'll hear the adults in the background going, "For a cup? All this for a cup? It's just a cup." In that last clip, I think it was a sibling sitting on the couch behind her. He was like, "What is going on?" You can tell that the dads and the grandpas and the brothers are just as confused, which gives me hope for humanity that other people can see how ridiculous this is too. But what makes these clips chilling for me is that the kids are not freaking out because they're so excited to stay hydrated. It's not just a cup. It's far, far more than that. They are getting so genuinely excited because they've just been accepted into the cool kids club. They now get to take this Stanley Cup to school and carry it around as a physical symbol of popularity among their peers. I saw this New York Post article the other day titled "Middle Schoolers Are Being Bullied for Not Having Stanley Tumblers." A 13-year-old girl named Dahlia wasn't the popular girl at her Dallas middle school, having been the new girl at school last year. But when she walked into school with her Stanley Cup, all of a sudden she was no longer invisible. Every day when I get into school at like 7:45 a.m., everybody comes over to me like, "Oh my god, I like your Stanley," or "It's so cool, I want a Stanley just like yours. It makes me feel like I'm famous and being swarmed by paparazzi. Holding a Stanley Cup in your hand at school today is a complete sign of popularity, trendiness, and wealth among kids. Here's a video of a mom telling us what happened to her daughter when she went to school after Christmas with a quote-unquote fake Stanley.
I don't post a lot of controversial content on my page. I usually like to keep things pretty fun, pretty lighthearted. I do a lot of voiceover content. With that being said, I'm going to keep this pretty short and sweet. This is the cup that we got our daughter for Christmas. This is not a Stanley. This is a $9.98 Walmart cup that she said she thought was cute. She is 9 years old. On the second day back to school after Christmas break, she comes home. She's not crying. She's just upset. The girls, all the other girls in her grade, I'm not saying all, maybe she said 9, 10 of them, all got Stanleys for Christmas. And they made sure to let her know that this is not a real Stanley, that this is fake and it's not as cool. So she comes home, she's upset. She asks if she can have a real Stanley. Do I think that a 9-year-old needs a Stanley? No. Do I have one? Yes, I have one. I don't have 50 Stanleys in all different colors. I'm not going to Target and fighting other women or moms to try and get the new Valentine's Day Stanley. I have one. So that being said, before you come at me, if you're a mom, if you're a parent, and you can do something to keep your child from getting made fun of, to help fit in, you're going to do it. So we went and bought her a 30-ounce Stanley. In our area, at our local Ace Hardware, these are $35. Can we afford to buy her a Stanley? Yes. Did I think that she needed one? No. Apparently I've been proven wrong by the children in our school that are making fun of her for not having a real name brand Stanley. But this doesn't start with the kids. This starts with us. This starts with parents, with moms. What are we teaching our kids? You better believe that if our 9-year-old daughter came home and somehow we found out that she made fun of another girl at school for not having something name brand, whether it's a Stanley, Lululemon, Uggs, I don't care what it is, we would be calling the family. We would be making her write a note to apologize. We would make her apologize in person, because that's not what we do in this household. And that's what we need to be teaching our kids. It does not matter. It's great. If you want to have name brand things and you can afford name brand nice things, that's great. We are fortunate enough that we can afford name brand things. But once again, we're trying to teach our kids they don't necessarily need that. Things are earned. You have to work for things in your life. Not everything is just going to be handed to you. But do I also not want to see my daughter being left out or made fun of because she doesn't have the name brand things? That's how I grew up. No disrespect to my parents, but we didn't have those things. I was made fun of. I remember the first time that my mom found me a limited 2 bathing suit at Goodwill, and I felt so good to have that name brand clothing. I know now as an adult that shouldn't have meant something, but it did, because it made me feel like I fit in. Even though we are trying to teach our kids to be unique and to be themselves, and I'm all for that. I am not going to, if my daughter asks for something to help fit in with the kids at school and she feels cool and it's something that she really wants and I can do that for her, I'm going to. But we have got to teach our kids to not make other kids feel inferior for not having the things that they have. That's it. That's where it starts, and it starts with us as parents. End rant.
Yeah, I completely see where she's coming from. This kind of thing puts parents in such a difficult position because on one hand, you want to teach your kids that material possessions do not define you, but you also don't want your child to be ostracized at school because they don't have the trendy water cup. I have a master's in elementary education. I have worked in elementary schools. I have seen this thing firsthand. Love them so much, but kids are brutal. They are ruthless. They will bully other children over something as trivial as a water cup. It's a terribly sad reality, and I wish it wasn't that way, and teachers are doing the best they can to mitigate that kind of behavior, but kids will find a way to make your child feel awful if they don't have the hottest, newest thing. I can completely understand why a parent would just pay the $45 if they can afford it to get their kid a Stanley Cup, if that means that their child gets immunity from bullying at school. And the fact that this is even happening at all is so deeply upsetting. But my ultimate question as I'm watching this is, why do 9-year-olds know that Stanleys are trendy? How do they even know what a Stanley is at all? Why are kids bullying each other over this? My assumption, and really the only assumption I think you can make, is that these kids must have access to social media and they must have been exposed to this influencer culture. And in my opinion, at far too young of an age. Maybe not all of the kids are on social media, but there's definitely some of them. How would they know that Stanleys are cool? This cup was popularized by bloggers and social media influencers, so how are the kids learning that they're so trendy if they're not seeing it online? online. It only takes a few kids whose parents let them be on Instagram and TikTok and they discover that Stanleys are cool, and then they bring that knowledge to school and it spreads like wildfire. So I'm not saying every 9-year-old has Instagram these days or something. God, I hope not. But it really only takes like 1, maybe 2 kids in the classroom or within the grade level to catch wind of something like this, and before you know it, all of their peers have it because somehow it's gotten out that this is the thing you need to have if you want to fit in. The thought of that is so disturbing to me, that children as young as 9 want this water cup so badly because they saw it on TikTok or something. I know that trends among kids come and go all the time, and they've been around for as long as any of us can remember, and when it's not a Stanley Cup, it's gonna be something else. Maybe in the past, trends developed based on what you saw in a catalog, or what was in the commercials on TV, or what was in the store windows as you walk down the mall. But it's the fact that these cups gain their popularity on social media specifically, and now kids are going crazy for them, that is so concerning to me. And a 40-ounce water tumbler is not a product marketed towards kids. This is not something that kids would typically care about. These tumblers are gigantic. They are as big as the children themselves. They are not intended for kids. These are the kinds of water bottles meant for kids, not these. They're huge. They're impractical for small children to be carrying around, especially when they're filled with 40 ounces of fluid. Kids aren't seeing Stanley Cups on their kids' TV show commercials. They're not seeing them in the kids section of stores. No, they're seeing them on social media. Do you think that these kids from all over the country would be asking for a Stanley Cup for Christmas 2023 if social media didn't exist? Personally, I don't think they would. It's not a kid's product. They would have no exposure to it. It is a very bizarre dystopian phenomenon that I think speaks to the larger issue of children having access to social media at younger and younger ages. There's a whole other thing going on right now where kids are flocking to Sephora stores to buy high-end skincare products. And it's the exact same situation happening there too. How do these children know about popular skincare brands made for adults? Why are 10-year-olds asking for anti-aging skincare for Christmas? But again, I think it all comes down to access to social media and how effective influencers are at making something look desirable and encouraging people of all ages to want to buy it. There's a few more bizarre things I've seen surrounding Stanley's popularity that I wanted to make sure I included in this video. One of them is that there's a whole corner of the internet where influencers are creating videos of just them unboxing their Stanleys. That's literally the whole video. They created a piece of content surrounding taking this cup out of its packaging. Why though? What's the purpose of that other than to create hype around a material product? Other than to show off that it's something you obtained and something that you think is worth having? This is exactly what influencing is. Influencers are making these kinds of videos because this is a product that they're able to earn a commission on if they use their affiliate links. So they can make a whole video unboxing their Stanley, therefore implying that it's something worth purchasing to hopefully tempt their followers to buy it. And with that being said, I just have to wonder how much of the Stanley hype is organic in the sense that it is a truly incredible cup, the best of its kind on the market, and it's life-changing quality and this is a genuine recommendation, or is it being showcased so much in influencer content because there's earning potential for them? Influencers know that it's the most sought-after product on the market right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if they don't actually care too much for the cup personally, but they know they can make a commission on it if they hop on the bandwagon to promote it to their followers. Speaking of earning potential, it's not just the cups that are gaining in popularity. Now there's a variety of accessories that you can buy for your Stanley too. Here's one video that features a lot of the most popular accessories I've been seeing. There's rubber boots made to fit them so they don't scuff and so they don't clink when you set them down. There's little straw caps to prevent the top of your straw from being exposed to the air. These silicone trays that fit on the top of your cup so you can carry around snacks too. These insulated sleeves with a strap so you can wear your Stanley like a crossbody bag. Then there's these pouches that you can strap onto them to make it like a little grab and go purse situation. And finally, they make these charms that you can hang from the handle too. This is not an all-encompassing video of every Stanley accessory that exists out there. Etsy is overflowing with them, which that's important to point out too. These are not Stanley brand accessories. These are accessories made by independent creators and distributors. You can find them on Amazon, you can find them on Etsy. You cannot find them on the Stanley website. And they're cute and they're fun and some of them are clever and functional. I'm just amazed at how people are now jumping to ride Stanley's coattails by creating and selling accessories for them. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just just think it's fascinating to see that Etsy creators will be like, all right, gang, Stanleys are in. You know what to do. Let's get with the program and create a line of accessories that people will go wild for. And we're going to make some money off of this whole Stanley thing, which, you know what? Great for them. Make that money. But now we're turning a $45 cup into what? A $75 cup, a $100 cup, depending on how many accessories you put on it. This kind of thing screams consumerism to the max. Like, not only are we paying $45 for the cup itself, but now we're paying extra by adding layers and layers of cutesy things to dress it up. I've literally seen influencers create content called Pack My Stanley to go out for the day, where they're dressing up their water bottle like it's a Barbie doll. Now we're accessorizing the accessory. Not only are you getting yourself dressed, but now your water bottle needs an outfit. Like, what is going on? Where does it end? I also just worry about how much waste this is creating when Stanley inevitably goes out of style in a couple years. All of this stuff is going to be ending up in a thrift store or a landfill somewhere. It's one thing if you buy a Stanley and use it for a decade. It's another thing if you have a collection of 30 Stanleys with all of these accessories that you're going to throw out in a couple of years and push to the wayside when the next cute cup comes out. It's so expensive. It's so wasteful. Speaking of riding the Stanley coattails, this is an ad that I got on my Instagram for an Itsy Ritsy diaper bag. They're advertising the diaper bag by showcasing that it can fit your Stanley cup. That's the whole ad. That's the entire purpose of it. Buy our diaper bag because it can fit this viral cup into it. Perfect example of how other companies are trying to capitalize on the craziness too. And can you blame them? Not really. And finally, I wanted to show you this scam email I got a few days ago because even internet scammers are trying to make some money off of people's obsession with Stanley. This is a scam email. It did not come from Target. It came from some weird alphabet soup email address, but they're trying to convince people that they've been selected to win one of these limited edition Valentine's Day Stanleys, and that all you have to do to claim it is click the link and give them all of your personal information. Great, seems legit. I mean, to me, as someone who gets like 50 scam emails a day, this is very clearly not real, but who knows? Maybe somebody blinded by the Stanley craze and who really, really wants one of these cups and they couldn't get their hands on it, maybe they would fall for it. That's terrifying. Even scammers are seeing this as a window of opportunity for them. And the last section of this video, with everything being said about this craze, I'm wondering if the downfall of Stanley is upon us because apparently they contain lead. Articles about this news have been coming out just within the past few days at the time of filming this video, so we don't know much. But what we do know is that very recently there's been a wave of people on social media kind of catching wind that Stanleys might have lead in them. And so what people are doing is they're ordering their own at-home lead test kits and they're videotaping themselves swabbing their Stanleys and posting it on TikTok. Here's a Facebook post of somebody showing that the swab came back positive for lead when she swabbed her Stanley cup, but not on her Arctic or Yeti. She says that she swabbed the inside of the cup where the liquid goes and it came back positive. However, on the flip side of that, all of the TikTok videos I saw of people filming themselves using the swabs, they all came out negative. Granted, I only watched like 20 TikTok videos. I didn't spend that much time digging, and there might be more videos that come out in the future, but it seems like right now, the overwhelming majority of people are getting negative test swabs for lead. But this has kind of drummed up enough controversy that it's getting Stanley's attention. The company released a statement saying that there is one lead pellet in the bottom side of the cup. But, quote, please rest assured that no lead is present on the surface of any Stanley product that comes in contact with you or the contents of your container. The only risk of lead exposure would come from the bottom of the flask being damaged and coming in contact with skin. So here's what the bottom of the cup should look like, and here's what it looks like when it's damaged and the lead pellet is exposed. There's this little round disc on the bottom of the cup, and if it pops off, then there's lead right there for you to have access to. This is a video of somebody swabbing the inside of her cup and she got a negative result, but then when she swabs the bottom of her damaged cup, it does come back positive. Unsurprisingly, the company has said, yep, there's lead there. So I just felt like I couldn't end this video without adding in this lead info because it's still a little murky to me as to whether or not these cups are safe to be using. So we'll continue to keep an eye on it and see if anything comes of it. Some people are getting positive lead results, most people aren't. The company says it's fine, but now consumers are concerned. Is the company's statement trustworthy? Are these people on social media testing their cups trustworthy? At this point, I feel like it's kind of a developing story. So if you do own a Stanley, you might want to keep up with the latest news about this lead poisoning thing because that is a serious concern. The company is saying this is very industry standard to be using lead in their vacuum sealing process to like seal up that hole down there. But I've also seen a lot of people on social media being like, oh my gosh, I looked at the bottom of my cup and that disc popped off. So I'm also getting the impression that with general wear and tear, that disc might pop pop off, and maybe you don't even know it did, or you don't even know that that's lead under there. With a quick Google search, I was wondering about the Yeti that I have and if that contains lead, and yes, it also does. It's an industry standard. A lot of companies with insulated water bottles do use lead. But what's interesting is like, I don't really feel like you could access it in any way. Like this entire piece would have to come off of the bottle. There's not a little opening right here that it could easily fall off. Like your entire cup would have to fall apart basically. So it'll be really interesting to see if people are catching wind of this lead news, what they're gonna do about it. Maybe they're gonna ditch their Stanleys. Maybe they're gonna go and find something else that is safer for them to use. Absolutely something to keep our eye on. And with that, my friends, it's everything I have for you for episode 2 of Influencer Insanity. This was a doozy. I feel like this is gonna be a really long video, but I thoroughly enjoyed filming this. This is a completely fascinating topic to me, and I hope you thought so too. I have many other ideas for future episodes, but if you have any suggestions on things I should cover in the future, please leave them in the comments below. I'm looking forward to hearing what you think about all of this. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you in my next one real soon.